Demetrius, hello, we see you there. 3 people here. Do anything exciting this weekend? Camping? Okay. That's exciting. Where'd you go?
National Forest. Lake.
Okay, nice. You have a camper or you stay in a tent?
No, like tent camping.
Tent camping. There you go. That's how we do it. It's best. Makes it.
Someday I get the camper, but you know, the older years, I guess.
Yeah, right. You get the real experience in the tent, though.
Yeah.
Did you bring air mattresses or did you really
Yeah.
sleep on the floor? Okay. Same with us. That's how we do it.
Because the pad has like literally rocks, a gravel rock.
Okay, yeah.
So it would be pretty hard to.
Yeah, that air mattress comes in handy. Cool. Okay. Well, it's 2 o'clock. Demetrius, hello. You're on Zoom. I have 3 other people here in the office. So, welcome to New Agent Orientation. For like Tony, when you and I met, we went over our provisional broker addendum. Oren, we're going to be doing that here when we meet our next time. Come on in. Hi, Peter. New agent. Yeah, new agent orientation. Come on in. And Peter, you and I went over the provisional broker addendum as well too. So this is kind of just, at first I'm going to go over some of the broker in charge best practices, just a little bit more in depth on some of the rules and policies as the broker in charge that I have. My responsibility is looking over you as new agents. And then Terry will come in here and he's going to talk to us about compliance and safety. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is our tech trainer, Sue. She's not going to be with us here today, but I'll give you a little bit of information about her, what she can help you do, and guide you on the way to get on her calendar to maybe have your one-on-one appointments with her. Okay, so starting off, I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to go through this, our best practices here this is right from the commission's website. So this is pretty much what my checklists are to make sure that I am in compliance with the commission with regards to new agents, whether they're provisional brokers or not. So as the broker in charge, my job is the supervising managing broker for all provisional brokers. That means that all your paperwork and compliance have to be run through me. Again, I'm not over your shoulder making sure you're doing everything perfectly, but we do review everything, Terry and I, for compliance. So all your documents will be approved by the commission. If you have ever questions about where do I put initials, how do I fill this in, you always come and see me because it's my license that's on the line. So come and ask me. I can help you fill out any of those documents or contracts, and we'll go from there. Let me go through this here. Oh, I'm looking for my parts that I highlighted, and it's not highlighted because it's on this one. Wait a minute. What was my stuff to talk about here? Okay, so I'm going to start on page 3. Written office policies. Page 2 here. Okay. So our office policies, we have our team meetings. They're on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every single month. The provisional broker meetings are from 10 to 11. And those meetings are required for all your provisional brokers to know that you are staying in compliance and that you are getting training from me as the broker in charge. I do take attendance at those meetings, and we run the meetings by sharing a win, something that you've done over the past couple of weeks. Most of the provisional brokers are in the same position, so I want to hear how you get your lead sources, what you're doing in business, what you're doing to help build up your business. And then we pick 1 or 2 topics to go over, and then we finish it with the questions and answers. So our provisional broker meetings are meant for if you have any hurdles or major questions that you're going over, and then again for me to make sure that I'm in front of you at least a couple of times a month, training you and going over certain topics. So I do have written agreements with all of you, all the agents here in the office. When you signed on, as the broker in charge, I signed the member participant form. So underneath in the MLS and through everything on the commission, all your licenses are underneath my license. You are an independent contractor, so you work obviously for Keller Williams, the firm, and your license is under mine, but you are the CEO of your own business. As you know, we work strictly on commission, so you are only getting paid when you go to a closing and they record the deed. So that's just an important factor to know that there's no favorites, and in real estate, you work strictly on commission. So you're going to earn by depending on how much effort and what type of activities that you're going to put in. All the compensation that you receive must be paid through Keller Williams, through me. So it comes through the office with either direct, most of the time is direct deposit. We go through, CC has records of all your splits with the company, and all the commissions and everything gets paid through Keller Williams. As you will get paid on your files once we have the money and your files are approved for compliance. So we have the file checklist, making sure that you have all the required documents. And once you have all those documents, you're uploaded in compliance, you will get paid. Okay, upon termination, say if you decide to leave Keller Williams, any listings that you have, you're allowed to take those with you. You take those listings to whichever ones that you have, as long as they are not under contract. If you have a listing that is under contract, that's going to have to close here with Keller Williams in this office. If you have same with any buyers, if you're working with any buyers, if they're under contract, they have to close with Keller Williams. If not, you can take your buyer agency contract to your other company that you're going to be working with. Okay, so licensees selling, purchasing, or doing any of your own property. First thing I wanted you to make sure that you're doing is that you're addressing that you are the owner of the property. So the realtor or the owner is also an agent that must be notified. If you're a buyer's agent or the selling agent, that's not a problem. And within our own office here at Keller Williams, if you are selling your own personal residence, you're allowed to sell commission-free on your side, one free per year. So personal residence, or if you buy a property, or if you're listing or selling your own personal residence, you have commission-free for one deal per year. Memberships in other organizations. When you joined, we sent your application to Canopy MLS. That also makes you you can use that designation realtor. It's because you are a member of the National Association of Realtors, the state, North Carolina State Association of Realtors, and the local Canopy MLS. So you are a full-time realtor in order to be here with Keller Williams. So you can use that logo and any of those other resources. Your errors and omissions insurance, that every month you have your monthly dues of $70. $15 out of that goes towards your errors and omissions insurance. So that's covered through the office, and that's going to come in handy if you ever are taken to court, or if there's a complaint with you on the commission. I have dealt with several of those. I've been in this broker in charge position now for just under 2 years, and I've gone through several of those errors and omissions claims. A lot of the stuff is just ensuring that you document everything that you do, and you just have to make sure you have records of all your contacts, your communications, and out of the 3 cases, all 3 of the people didn't get in trouble, so we'll still have a good winning record. But your errors and omissions insurance will cover you if that is the case. Okay, so broker in charge, delegation of duties. That's nothing to hear. Communication with me and mentoring. Really, that's just we do have productivity coaching with Katrina, so I'm going to encourage you to sign up with her, but also to be able to use me as a resource. I've done real estate since 2003, and I've been in this position for 2 years. So if I want you to come and see me, pick my brain, you can come talk to me. I was a listing agent specifically, so that's mainly what I focused on. But as far as any type of that training, productivity coaching, and certainly use me as well. All right, license compliance. That is going to be really talking about keeping your license active, paying all the dues that are required yearly, paying the MLS fees, doing your post licensing, and doing your continuing education. So I have records of everybody that's underneath my broker in charge watch on the commission's website. So if you ever have a question, what do I need for a CE or anything like that, you can always check with me, but that is a part of your responsibilities to make sure you're keeping your license active. You're also paid $50 when you signed on for a privilege license. That's the North Carolina Department of Revenue. That's really just the way for the state to get some money on your licenses. You have to get a license if you're selling anything in North Carolina. Okay, our additionally regulatory compliance. These are really like some of the topics that we talk about in some of our related training classes. Fair housing, tax laws, do not call list, fair credit reporting, antitrust laws, sexual harassment laws, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, truth in lending. So those are all additional licensing laws, stuff that you've probably heard a lot of that stuff when you were in class, taking all the tests and stuff like that. So those are some of the topics that we will touch, just so we're making sure that we have that refresher training. Okay, so a licensee should work in the area of their own expertise. So when you have your real estate license, you can do residential sales, you can do land sales, you can do commercial, you can do, those are any type of real estate activities. You don't need a different license to do commercial or residential. So, and also regarding to areas. So some people will say, hey, can I go into Charlotte? Can I go into Statesville? Absolutely. So real quick, I came from Rhode Island. It takes 1 hour to drive through that whole state. So I would go 1 hour anywhere from here because it wasn't a big deal to me. So from 1 hour here, you can go to, I've been down to Valentine, not as much, but I did take a listing there, and an hour up north, just past I-40 in like Statesville. So I'm going to tell you, if you want to do that, do it. There's no issues with, if you're trying to get a listing there, learning that area or learning about that property, that subdivision. I mean, everything's online, and you can find out stuff, history of an HOA. You can find out the HOA pages on Facebook. You can drive there and see what other community features that they have and stuff like that. So people say, well, can I go to the beach? You want to drive 4 hours? I mean, most of the time, I wouldn't, but you're licensed and do business anywhere in North Carolina. And if you have that opportunity to send somebody a referral, there's a very easy way to do it in Keller Williams, and I can show you how to do that right on command. But try and work in your area of expertise and refer out what you need to. But again, don't let that hinder you. I know you guys are hungry, you want to work some deals. So an hour radius is really no big deal in my eyes. Right, your broker relationship. So every time that you have an exclusive right to sell listing agreement, you are the designated agent for the seller. Same thing if you have Form 201, the exclusive buyer agency form. That form, you exclusively represent the buyer. Now, the agreements are made through Keller Williams, so it's agreed with Keller Williams Realty, but you as the agent are signing it on behalf of the realty. So you're the agent that is going to be working with those clients, but again, the agreements are made with Keller Williams. Now, as far as dual agency and designated dual agency, here within our office, we require you to have a buyer agency agreement if you're writing an offer for the buyer. So say there's a listing here in our office and there's the buyer. You have that exclusive right to buyer agency, and it's a listing here in our office, so they have the exclusive listing rights. So technically, what does that mean? Are we a dual agent? You guys aren't. Technically, I am, as the firm, as the broker in charge. But that's not a problem, because what we do is we practice designated dual agency. Simple, not a problem. Keller Williams listing agent represents only the seller. Keller Williams buyer's agent represents only the buyer. Nothing changes. You just check another box because you're dual agent. If in the case where you have a listing and then a buyer comes in unrepresented, or they want you to represent them, can you do that? Sure. You just need to get permission from all parties. Buyer and seller to give you permission to represent both parties. What's the ultimate goal, right? Is to have the buyer and the seller come to a closing. That's what they want to do. So those are all possible ways that you can have agency. Again, our duties are fiduciary versus non-fiduciary. Basically, you represent that client. You have their best interest with the common goal of getting them to a closing. Okay, so the organization administrative procedures. So I am actively engaged in the management of all your brokerage. That includes any of your marketing or and all that type of stuff that a provisional broker will do in their business. And again, it's required that I give you guys adequate resources and training for all these different types of procedures. So again, we'll do that again. We'll pick out some of these are some of the topics: contract usage, which contracts, listing, obtaining and servicing, buyer representation agreement. So these are all types of topics that we talk about in our provisional broker class. And that, you know, if you ever come on in, hey, Rob, I got a question about a counter offer, a multiple offer situation, we can talk about all those situations. That's not a problem. Again, don't hesitate. Come and see me and ask me. Again, and you can ask me or you can ask Katrina if you're in the productivity coaching. It's not a problem. All of our disclosures. The first disclosure that we will have is the working with real estate agents disclosure. So that's a requirement when you're talking with any potential consumer, buyer or seller. And then the rest of the disclosures that are required, whether it's the property disclosures, mineral, oil and gas rights, lead-based paint, radon, mold, floodplain, any type of disclosures that you will be able to provide to your clients. Okay, so advertising, I talked to you guys real quick about this in our provisional broker meeting. So as far as any type of advertising, it's required that you have the Keller Williams logo. So that ensures to the public that it's not a blind ad. That means that you are affiliated with the firm. So you can put your own phone number, you can put your own logo, but you have to also have the Keller Williams logo for any type of brochures, marketing, Facebook advertising, or anything like that. So just ensure you have the Keller Williams logo, and that shows that you are affiliated with our firm. It's not a blind ad. And then again, once you do that, send me your first proof, and I'll look at that. And then again, that's a lot of the stuff is just advertising and promotion, but we'll also have to take into account a lot of those other items that we talked about before, fair housing and equal opportunities and stuff like that. Teams and groups. In order for you to start a team, you're going to have to really come up to some sort of at least to have some sort of production, because as a team and a group, you know, you're a team leader and you still have other agents that are working under you. So if you are in a team or a group, they do have a team leader. However, the broker in charge is still responsible for all their actions and their duties and their forms. So even if you're on a team or a group, it's okay, but please come talk to either PJ or myself or somebody before just joining a team so we can outline everything. Terry's going to discuss our safety procedures. Our personal conduct, where everyone runs business here. Our dress code is business casual here in the office at all times. Our etiquette is, you know, anybody could be bringing consumers by or a seller or somebody by. So again, this is a professional area, so we'll keep that etiquette in this office like so. As far as like any types of gatherings and stuff that we have, we have like on Friday when we had the blood drive. Next week, or not next week, next month, we're trying to get another social or something like that. We allow that. We're not allowed to provide beer or wine, but we allow people to bring it, so that's not a problem here in the office either. Code of ethics and MLS training. So as part of as the broker in charge, I am the member participant, and when you're on the MLS, you're just a subscriber. So again, any of your MLS, any of your write-ups or your pictures or your listings that go in there, they again must be all under compliance. I do review all of our listings on the MLS. If there's a violation, I get notified as well too. So just keep that in mind. That's all type of marketing that you can do and for yourself in the MLS, but you're representing Keller Williams. Activities from an unlicensed activity. This really isn't regarding for us, but if somebody was going to hire an admin or something, there's some activities that they can and cannot do. All right, records management. So with regards to all the files that you have, all the forms, all the disclosures, all the copies of checks and receipts of all the documents that are required, you are required to keep a copy of all that for 3 years. 3 years from when the property closes. So obviously, if you're with Keller Williams, that'll be okay because all the documents are held in command. So everything that's in command, you have access to with, but technically everything that's in command is the property of Keller Williams. So if you're no longer with our office and something comes up, you need to have record management of everything that you've had. And you can't rely on it being on command because that's not necessarily your holding ground. It's the firm's, Keller Williams. So I always suggest in Gmail, you can create other folders. In Dropbox, you can create spaces. You need to keep a record of everything you've had for each transaction. I would suggest by naming it just by the property address. And that also includes text messages and emails with your clients and other agents. So people are like, wow, that's kind of crazy. I have a whole bunch of text messages. Well, there's settings in your iPhones that you can go, and there's an app that you can download where it transforms all your text messages to email. So I forget the name of it, but it's in Google, and or even on your iPhone, if you put in how to send text messages to email, it's just through settings. So that way you can pick and choose those text messages, send them to email, and then when you're on your email, you can drag them into that folder. So it's another extra step, but it is certainly going to be required for if you do get in trouble and you have to go back to the commission. So for 3 years, keep a record of everything that goes on into the transaction. Okay, trust accounts. Keller Williams no longer holds trust accounts. So that's the earnest money deposit, EMDs. So from now on, if you're a buyer's agent, it's on page 2, and it says the escrow agent is going to be. So that in most cases now it's going to be the closing attorney. So we have McNaught downstairs. I've seen that several times. And whoever the buyer is, the buyer's lender, they pick the attorney. So the buyer can pick the attorney, whichever one you want. And again, they're going to hold the earnest money deposit. They will also sign page 15 of the offer to purchase, because it's on the back page, the last page, it's you sign when you receive the money. The listing agent signs for the due diligence, the seller signs for the due diligence, and then the closing attorney or the escrow agent signs for the earnest money deposit. So again, they'll sign it, they do it downstairs, and then just you upload that additional page, and that just records that the money has been accepted and they have it in their account. As far as cash, never hold cash. Everything has to be done through either a check or I have seen Venmo now or Zelle. Someone paid due diligence on their Zelle as long as it's a record of it. Earnest money deposit, that was not going to be possible. You'll have to either do a wire transfer with the closing attorney or bring them the money, but that's okay. So crisis management in dispute. All right, this is where I come in, meaning that if you ever have an issue with another agent, an issue with your seller, or an issue with your buyer, use me as your sounding board or even as the mediator, because I don't have the emotions that some agents do and the buyers and sellers do. My job is to make sure we get to a closing. Now, sometimes some agents and some buyers and sellers can really be ridiculous. So it just happened with Katrina, our productivity coach. She had a seller who was a jerk and would be very rude to her. So she said, I'm going to include you. First, I had to have a conversation with them about something. And then she said, I'm going to include you on every text message. That was with him. And so I was. He was no longer snarky. He was no longer rude. And we ended up closing the deal. It just worked. And so that's with Katrina, who's a pretty straightforward ex-military. So, and just for the broker in charge title, I'm not saying that I'm amazing or anything, but hey, I'm going to tell my broker in charge and I'm just going to include him on there. If that's what you need to do, that's what you got to do. I have called a buyer before, one of our agents. This guy won't return my call, won't do nothing, won't return the lender's call. I called him. Hey, this is Rob with the broker in charge. You know, Sarah's been trying to get in touch with you. We really need to get that stuff to the lender to get that. And he got it over there. It's like, what? So for some strange reason, some people will just listen to that broker in charge. So I've called buyers, I've called angry sellers, and I've talked to certainly other agents as well too. So use me as a crisis management and dispute resolution person. with the goal, just keeping in mind, my goal is to get your buyers and sellers to a closing. And that's really about it. So any just additional resources, a lot of the stuff that I get, a lot of the stuff is right from the commission's website. If you ever need any forms or questions on, I just go to the commission's websites, ncrec.com. They have a ton of information there that you can get just real quick for North Carolina realtor stuff. And then here's just some stuff really that we talked about. You're required to work under the broker in charge of supervision. All funds or items of value returned over to the broker in charge. Seek approval prior to placing any advertising. Don't procrastinate in paying your license renewal fees or completing your license renewal requirements. If you have questions, ask them. Never ask an unlicensed person to perform a licensed activity. Safety first. Follow through with what you say you will do. Always return a customer's call or communication. Remember, treat other brokers and coworkers with the same courtesy as customers and clients. And if a conflict arises with a client, consumer, or another broker, and you find yourself in a situation that you haven't encountered before, consult myself, the broker in charge, immediately. If I don't have the answer, I can contact the commission or get the right answers or do my job, but do my diligence. Create a list of activities that require a license. And really just all you can do any type of activities as long as you have your licenses active. And there's the commission's websites and NAR.realtor website for you to go on and use those as resources. All right, exciting stuff, right? You know, you don't want to go into real estate jail. So I'll do my job to make sure you stay out of it. But really, that's kind of just some basic policies and stuff like that we have to go. Any questions about any of that stuff? Pretty straightforward. And let me just go grab Terry. I'll talk about our training, safety. Terry.
Are we paid, so once the deal's done that day, it's like 24-hour turnaround, as long as everything's cool?
Yeah, as long as everything's in compliance. So now with COVID, everything, most of it has been like direct pay. So closing attorneys downstairs, they have the closing, they require commission.
I was going to ask a question, do we do wiring or check or?
Most things get wiring now. So they'll wire right to CD's office and then you go to deposit with her, you submit your file on command, everything's submitted, everything's there.
If your name was quickly on the hunt next door, the officer there take my check to the front door. And then call me and said, you can come get it before 6, but it's on the front door gate, it takes everybody's check.
Yikes.
So luckily it didn't blow away or.
Right.
I said it on purpose.
Luckily it didn't blow away.
It's on the flyer, and I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, as long as all your documents in the file are uploaded, Terry does the compliance, he signs off on it, good to go. We're ready for you, Terry. Keep us safe.
All right, awesome. What an introduction.
And Demetrius and Priscilla are on Zoom.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope it's been a good Monday. And hello out there in Zoom world. I'm Terry Rogers. I am your compliance officer. And I'll tell you what that is momentarily. I've been with Keller Williams now for over 13 years. This has been my entire real estate home, and it's a great place to be. We have your tools for success, and I'm sure all of you will do very well. So welcome. That said, what is compliance? I am the person that reviews all of your contracts when you have a buyer go under contract or you have a listing agreement that's signed, all the associated paperwork for that. So I will be looking at that to make sure it's done correctly. paperwork is done correctly, then that's a good thing. That's, we're going to keep the real estate commission happy. We want to protect your broker in charge, Rob Pettit, and his license, because he is your direct supervisor. So I assist him in looking at those contracts and documents to make sure that, again, we're squared away as a firm and you as agents. So you've got two guys kind of help looking after you. That said, there is a difference in compliance when your broker in charge. Your broker in charge is your direct supervisor. So please, when you have real estate questions, go directly to Rob. I am the backup broker in charge when he is on vacation or out of town and available. So when that situation arises, I'm happy to answer your questions, but it's not appropriate for me to answer your real estate questions when Rob is available and here. So when would you ask me a compliance question? When you have paperwork ready to turn in. Does that make sense? So you've got paperwork ready to turn in, or you turned it in and I've made a note or comment about what might be missing or what might needs to be changed. So that is my role, and that is when you would reach out to me. And I'm happy to talk with you. And let me focus on that. Give me a call. My number is 704-560-9630, 560-9630. It's much easier for me to answer your question immediately if I'm not with a client or in an appointment than for you to send me an email or a text and go back and forth on text. Perfect example, just the other day. Agent emails me, I'm having a problem with this. Can we meet tomorrow? My response was, call me. She called me. I answered her question in less than 30 minutes. By the way, I'm happy to meet with you tomorrow. What time works for you? Oh, I don't need to meet with you now. You just answered my question. You see how the progression is so much quicker by a phone call, and I can answer your questions in depth as long as it takes. So please utilize me. If I can help you, I'm glad to do that. Any questions on that? Okay. So the obvious question is, what do I need when I have a buyer under contract or I have a listing agreement? What do I need to turn in? Well, this is called your file submission checklist or your command checklist. And I'll make some additional copies and pass this out in class. You can see it there in Zoom land. It is available through command under Office of Documents. And that really answers 99% of your questions. What forms I need to turn in, the listing forms that are appropriate for the top section. You would put that in a listing folder in command. I know all this is, if you're brand new, this doesn't kind of add together yet, but trust me, it will. When that listing goes under contract, or you have a buyer that is now under contract, you put everything in the contract folder, and then you submit. And again, it comes into my workflow, and I take a look at that for you. And the third time you would submit is, of course, when it's closed. You had a closing, the documents are signed by the attorney, the buyers and sellers, and then you turn the appropriate documents in so we can pay you. And I change that status to full compliance, ready to pay. So that's kind of how the procedure works. I would always recommend you guys as new agents, and I do this today, as long as I've been doing this, I still do this today. Print this paper out, even if you do everything in the cloud, print this paper out and keep it in your portfolio, and check when you've got these documents, check when you turned it in. And this is really important. So this is how we get paid. Check when you fill out the commissions tab in command. That commissions tab in command is part of the process. It's not a compliance item, but it's how you get paid. The flow is, and again, I know this may be a little bit confusing, but the first time you do it, it'll all make sense. When you turn in your paperwork and you have a contract, the next step of that is to put the offer details into command. It's a seamless flow, so you click on that tab, And then once that tab is completed, the next tab is your commissions folder. So you've got an offer folder and a commissions folder. Very little information that you need to put in there, but it's the only way that our wonderful market center administrator, CC, can pay you. If you don't do that, you can be in full compliance from the paperwork standpoint. But if you fail to do your commissions and offers tab, there's no way that she can pay you that day. So for that purpose, I recommend that you write down on here when you do that. It should be within the same day or the next day when you turn it in for compliance. If you don't do it then, you're going to forget about it. So that's why I'm a paper person, and if I put it down on paper, I know it's done and I don't forget about it. So I would encourage you guys to follow that process if at all possible. So that's how the compliance role works. Any questions for me from Zoom or in class? Personal questions, real estate questions, I mean, whatever. I'm here to talk to you.
Yeah, well, when you're on post license and become a full broker, you have to switch, get like a different broker in charge of the
Good question. Nothing changes. Just the commission's website will remove the fee to be a full broker. And I'll get a form just saying that you have removed the provisional part. But nothing changes for you. You're still under myself, the broker in charge.
Yeah, a good question. I mean, Rob is still my broker in charge. So even though I'm his backup when he's out of town, he is still my supervisor and the broker in charge for our firm, Keller Williams Cornelius. So yeah, he's our go-to guy, and certainly I am with any of your compliance questions or when Rob is unavailable and out of town. All right, the next thing that I'm proud to head up is our agent safety program. Very important. So we'll move on to that. So we have an agent safety policy. And we've unfortunately, you know, throughout the business, there have been instances where agents have been put in situations that have resulted in to the extreme loss of life. So we want to try to do whatever we can to create a safety policy and adhere to it to ensure you've got as much resource as possible. So I do teach an agent safety course. It's a 2-hour class. We'll do it quarterly, so you'll get notified. That'll be one of the classes that you'll be expected to attend. We don't have a date for the 4th quarter yet, but it'll be before the end of the year, so we encourage you to attend that. The agent safety policy basically, and I'll give you handouts to this as well, is pertaining to if you're out showing, you're with a new client or an existing client, you're out showing the property and you're by yourself and you feel uncomfortable. Rob is making me uncomfortable. I sense something is just, yeah, it's not right, whether I'm male or female, it doesn't matter. I just sense that I could be in danger. It's not a 911 call that I'm willing to make right now. Help, please, I need help. But I feel like I need something, right? I feel like that I could be in danger. So you're going to call the office in a very discreet manner. The agent on duty or our front director of first impressions, whoever answers the phone, you're going to identify yourself. This is Jerry Rogers. I'm at 123 Main Street here in Cornelius. Would you please get the red file for this property? That's the key word. That's the term. I'm in danger, or I may be in danger. Would you give me the red file? If you hear those words, you immediately obviously confirm their address. Okay, great. It'll take me a couple of minutes to get that. Please hold. Try to keep the agent on the line. You're not alarming. They're not alarming their person that they're in front of. And immediately call 911. You're going to call 911 and you're going to identify yourself, and you're going to state that I have an agent that it indicated that they may be in a dangerous situation. I do not know the details at 123 Main Street here in Cornelius. Would you please dispatch an officer? It's that simple. Okay.
So
Question,
does
yes.
everyone get an assigned person that they're supposed to call, or is there just a-
No, you're calling the office number.
Oh,
As an agent, you've got the office number programmed, so during business hours, you're calling our office number, 704-892-5518, and you're merely identifying yourself as by name and giving the address so we know where you're at, and you're asking for the red file. So that is your distress code. That is a distress code. We all know what that is, and we're going to call 911 for you. And again, obviously, this is not a situation where if you're under attack, and you have the ability to call 911, you do that first. But if you're just uneasy and uncomfortable, especially as a female, and you're in an uncomfortable situation, then that may be an easier route for you to take, to where we can dispatch a police officer to check on you in an expeditious manner by calling 911 on your behalf. So that's kind of how the agent safety policy is set up to get you some support by law enforcement. They're going to get to you much quicker than we can as leadership, but we're also, the agent on duty is going to notify all the leadership that there's been a distress call initiated. And so someone from the office is going to come check on you as well. But trust me, the law enforcement is going to get there before we can. I don't care if you're around the corner. So that's why we use that red file terminology, and we'll call 911 for you. Any questions out there in Zoom land on that? Or in class?
I'm glad some of the agents in this office do have a point system. Chelsea, when she meets up for sale by owner, she texts me, hey, I'm going to see the seller at this address at 2 o'clock. I know some other people just text me from the productivity coach, just text each other, just so you know where you're at. Somebody knows where you're at, just to kind of have an extra sense of coverage. I always, another thing in my calendar, I'd always put listing appointment at 123 Main Street. So that was always another place where if I never came back, you could look at my calendar and they know I was at Main Street. It's just the buddy system, and always just kind of covering yourself.
Yeah, very good. And again, there are some more bullet points on this agent safety policy handout that I'm going to give you guys. It's also, a copy of it is in the red folder downstairs in the phone duty desk. And it starts out with, making a copy of the driver's license of your client. We teach that in the buyer presentation class that PJ teaches. I teach that in the agent safety course. Make sure who they are. They say they are, but they really are that person. And blame it on me, blame it on Rob, blame it on any of us as leadership. That's our KW policy. And nobody's going to object to that unless their intent is initially to do you harm. So if somebody proceeds to turn around and walk out the door when you ask that, trust me, you haven't lost a client. You've just ran off a perpetrator, possibly. So any other questions for me, my role here at KW, or about agent safety? All right, well, thank you guys. I am going to go make some copies because I don't have enough for everybody. They're also available at my desk, which is right across from CC's on the exterior wall. So feel free to pick up a copy of those as well. Again, welcome aboard KW.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Rob.
And I'll give a plug for Terry's training class. It's awesome. He used to be a police officer, so he brings in some cool, some stuff that you can use to put on your keychains, some tips and tricks, some other apps that you can use. So good stuff for that training class. And let's see. Okay, so the last part about this training here is I want to talk about Sue. So she is our the tech coordinator. She is in the office, in the Cornelius office on Thursdays. So if you ever want to set up a meeting with her, she's here. You also have access to her calendar, but you can schedule one-on-one meetings with her via Zoom. So she does, she's the tech coordinator for our market center, University Market Center, and I believe Mooresville. So she does have a lot on her plate, but she is able to help you with command. And she will be able to help you with DocuSign. She will be able to help you with your websites. So just make sure you use Sue for that tech resource and use her. Peter, did you meet with her already?
Number two, actually, we said over the phone. And something that Sue's gonna start doing Thursdays here is have a time slot.
Okay,
Everybody come in with Q&A.
a group training session like that.
Yeah, Priscilla and I overlapped in our meetings.
Okay, good.
So we stayed together.
With some of the same questions or
Yeah,
issues and stuff.
Something that she asked,
Right.
So
That's awesome.
fantastic.
Good.
So, yeah, so I know Amber sent out, I think yesterday, the communication plan last night.
Okay.
A certain time slot as well, kind of a drop-in Q&A session.
Awesome.
In addition to.
And that'll be on Thursdays when she's here. So good. Thank you for sharing that. 'Cause that is certainly going to be a big thing. Yeah, and those are outside of Terry's office. That's outside of my office as well too. That's in command on the checklist. So that's your most important checklist, and what needs to be submitted, what files and documents that you need has the numbers there as well too. So you can search for the PA numbers as well. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? That one is okay. And Demetrius and Priscilla, I'll email you these two documents. It's our checklist and our agent safety protocol. So I'll scan these and send these to your email once we're done here today.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's all I have for this class. And I know we're all kind of, you guys are in the same situation, starting to get started and get up and running. So come and see me if you want to pick my brain, if you want to do an hour of power, you want to call some for sale by owners. You want to ask me how I chase listings, what my script is, come and see me, make an appointment, we can sit and talk. I have no problem with that. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the day. See you later.
You know, general question for you.
Yeah, what's,
The MLS, how long did it take to get set up?
all right, because they're